following program is a production of Ho'ike Kaua'i Community Media.
Hello everyone. Do you know how the County of Kaua'i is going to be spending your tax dollars? Well, welcome to a special episode of the County Council Recap, in which we're talking about Day 1 and Day 2 of the Departmental Budget Review for fiscal year 2025 to 2026. I'm here to fill you in on some of the basics so that hopefully empowers you to be able to get involved and let your council members know what you think, because the civic process only works if you partake. So Day 1 had an overview of the entire budget, and then Day 2, hasn't quite happened yet, so I'm going to let future Olivia take care of that one. But let's get into it. So Day 1 began with a presentation from the administration saying that the budget that is presented is a structurally balanced budget, which basically means that all recurring expenses are going to be covered by our recurring revenue. So basically money that we know we have. But they did report that there was a excess in the fiscal year 2024 of $3.7 million, and 3.6 of those dollars are going to go towards non-recurring expenditures in this proposed budget. We then took a look at revenues by fund, and it's pretty complex, but let me talk about the one I think that most people either may be familiar with or know where the money is going to be coming from, and that's called the general fund, which is the largest revenue, the largest fund in the entire budget, and that is primarily funded by real property taxes that people pay every year. And so that is approximately 80% is real property taxes. And we saw a little bit of a bump in this upcoming budget in terms of revenue from real property taxes. And so it's nice to see, because the county is growing and we do need to be able to pay for more recurring expenditures as we continue to grow as a county and not have interruptions to services. So real property taxes account for roughly 80% of the general fund, and this year those taxes brought in an additional $11.7 million. So that increase, it's mostly from the property tax revenue increasing. There was a nearly $4 million decrease from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year this year, the proposed budget. And that's primarily because they moved money around from the affordable housing into the capital improvement projects. So it sounds really scary, but no money is being taken away. In fact, the administration is still making good on the promise that they would dedicate 2% of all property tax revenue towards affordable housing. And in fact, they're not doing 2%. They're doing 5.8%, which is great to hear and great to see, because I'm sure other people have the same experience of not finding reliable housing here in Kaua'i. But also, just as a young college graduate myself, I think it's hard for me to be like, hey guys, are you guys going to move back here after you're done with school? Because it is way too expensive to live here sometimes, and jobs sometimes don't line up, but mostly it's because people don't really want to live with their parents. And that is a unique challenge, because, young college graduates can contribute really great to our economy and our job market here. So I think this is a good motion and a good movement towards funding affordable housing and continuing to create supply, because we've made big strides in the affordable housing market. I think the County of Kaua'i, according to the state of the county, is now the largest developer of affordable housing. So it's nice to see our county government step in, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, there are too many line items for me to go through and tell you exactly where things increased and decreased from last year. I really invite you to go check out the full meeting so that you can see particular departments. If you're interested in things like HR or Parks and Rec, you can see exactly how that breakdown went. I think they do a much better presentation than I would, since they are much more familiar with the budget, but there were decreases somewhere and also some increases, but I invite you to go check that out at the link below, and go check it out in the description. All right, so let's move on to the first department that presented on Day 1, the Department of Human Resources. And one of those big things of the Department of Human Resources is looking at all of the vacancies and how they're funded. So their biggest budget request was for $500,000 to what they call is a wellness program to help improve retention and more diversify recruitment and make that easier. They're also asking $30,000 to expand the county's summer internship program, which is currently at 6 weeks, but the $30,000 increase, if approved, would make it 8 weeks, increase hourly pay for the interns, and also just kind of make it more experience heavy, because 2 months compared to a month and a half can actually make quite the difference, according to the Department of Human Resources, in terms of skills picked up, the amount of time that they spend on it. So I think that's a good thing. But the first item, the $500,000 line item for a wellness program, it sounds like a traditional one, right? With like gym memberships or extra health perks. But the way that it was described in the budget proposal didn't sound like that. It sounded like a monetary, the exact way that it was worded as a monetary incentive for people to get to work and not abuse their sick leave. But to me, $500,000 or $500,000 is quite the large line item for getting people to come to work. And it did sound kind of more like an administrative problem. But I don't know. I don't work for the county government. But as a citizen, I do think that is a little concerning. But we'll have to see how the proposal fully plays out, because there may be more information forthcoming when the mayor communicates further details about the budget towards the council as this process goes on. Because, all right, so that's all for day one. And before we transition over, I'd like to just ask you to kindly subscribe, like, and comment, and share with a friend. Share with someone who's also really passionate about our local government and how our taxes are being spent, because I think it's really valuable information. So yeah, please like and share. It helps Huike a ton. We're just a nonprofit here on Kaua'i trying to get the public informed about this stuff. So anything helps. So mahalo. Let's transition to day two. Alrighty, so we've made it to day two. So I just came back to the office to edit this video together after Public Works was the primary focus of day two. So the first half was focused on the budgeted items for the department. And so Public Works actually is a ton of different divisions of government services that you probably are familiar with. The ones that come to mind are solid waste, like with the landfill and trash collection, and wastewater, which is our sewage treatment and all of that stuff. And also our in-house auto shop for all of our county vehicles, because there are a lot of them. So we went through the budgeted list for all of them. I greatly suggest you go check out the webcast meetings, but to give you kind of the Cliff Notes version, there were some particular qualms about the solid waste division, and council provided a very strong suggestion that they need to come up with other diversion strategies to try to lengthen the life of the landfill. And even though that they may cost more, we need to try to do everything that we can before it's too late. So that was an interesting topic, especially because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about curbside recycling and diversion. And so this is kind of a revisit onto that topic from the council members questioning the leader of the solid waste division. We heard from other division leads, but really what really struck out to me was the amount of work that these people have to do to make sure that essential government services are still functioning. And I invite you all to go check out one of the items revolving around the current situation in the Wailua wastewater facility and the issues with it. There were definitely a lot of questions about that. So if you feel passionate about our wastewater and where it's going, go check that out in the meeting, or reach out to one of your council members and you can get the information from them. We also saw the review of all of the continuous improvement projects for the solid waste division. And since the solid waste division is so huge, got a whole dedicated to it, because we're going to be revisiting the continuous improvement project budget next week, Monday. So stay stay tuned for that. But for now, we're talking about things like conducting studies and designing for the replacement of the Hanapepe Bridge, which kind of hits close to home since I live on the west side. But also, it's kind of a way for the county to budget out these items that are going to take more than just the physical year, right? Because bridges don't go up in a year. But, there's design and there's consultants and there's environmental impact surveys, and there is a lot that goes into it. So thank you, County of Kaua'i. And I'm sure that a lot of people are definitely talking about the Anahola Bridge, the Niamale Bridge. So that was all mentioned today. So go check it out in the meeting. It looks like they do have some scheduled open dates for the temporary bridges, and then are going to come back to council next year to talk about designing a more permanent bridge. But if you feel, really interested in what we are doing to improve our infrastructure here in Kaua'i, I invite you to go check that out. Day 2. I know that's not as much as I had on day 1, but I kind of want to take the weekend to digest all of the information so that I can give you the most accurate information. But since you're going to be listening to this probably on Monday or after Monday, make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube or on whatever podcast platform you're listening to so that you can see when our part 2 of this update, so day 3 and 4, we'll talk about more budgeting items and more continuous improvement projects. So until next time, this is Olivia with Ho'ike, and I'll see you next time, Kaua'i.
Ho'ike Kaua'i Community Media's president and CEO is Allegra Gaines. Administrative assistant, Leko Someda. Production and education services by Roger Olson. Production and IT services by Max Richardson. News and events producer, Trisha Allen. County producer and social media manager, Olivia Franco.